Well, a big part of our thing is, of course, working with kids. So
Yes.
we've got some questions for you
Okay.
from some of our students,
Amazing.
some of the kids in the neighborhood. And these are hard hitting.
Hey Ben, what's your favorite song that you've played before?
Whoa. Oh,
That's hard,
there's so many
man.
ways I could answer that. I know. Probably one of my favorite gigs I was invited to play was me and the Flaming Lips with the Violent Femmes headlining. And the Femmes are one of my favorite bands, okay? I was over the moon because I love the Femmes. This DJ at the Chicago rock station was like, dude, so like you're playing with the Violent Femmes, one of your favorite bands, like, what do you think? And I'm like, dude, it's amazing. Like, I can't wait. This is so cool. He's like, awesome. I'm about to interview them next. I'll tell them that you want to play with them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, don't do that. Because then I'm like scared, you know? I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. So a month goes by. We show up to the gig in Chicago and I see Wayne Coyne because I knew the Flaming Lips, we had already been friends and stuff. The bass player from the Violent Femmes walks by and he said, hey, you're Kweller. Hey, I heard you're going to play a song with us. And I'm like, wait, what? And I was like, no, I don't know. And I almost chickened out. My bass player, Josh, was like, dude, you got to do it. Like, this is your favorite band. Like, what a dream. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. The other guys from the Violent Femmes walked up and they're like, all right, well, what song are we doing? And I said, let's do Add It Up. Favorite song I ever played was Added Up by the Violent Femmes with the Violent Femmes in Chicago on stage.
You got to be with your hero.
Yes. And I just like,
Yeah.
I feel like I jumped up and down smiling the whole time on stage playing that song.
Hey Ben, what's your favorite color?
I've gone back and forth about this over the years and I just keep coming back to red. I think that's my favorite one.
Yeah.
How did you learn to play music?
I learned how to play music because my dad said, Ben, I'm going to teach you how to play a drum beat. He told me that rock and roll, you count 1, 2, 3, 4 and do it again. And your hands play on certain numbers. And that's how I learned how to play music.
How much do you practice?
Not as much as I should now because life gets so complicated as you get older.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many other things that are like competing for your time and attention, you know, and time starts going a lot faster as you get older. It's really weird. When I was your age, I practiced like probably most of the day. You know, if I wasn't at school, I was at home practicing. It was all practice all the time. Nowadays, I have to be really intentional about my practice. I basically schedule time. So I try to do Thursdays and Fridays or just like create music days.
Mm-hmm.
Monday through Wednesday is usually more business oriented stuff.
Where's the best place have you ever played?
Japan for sure. Japan's my favorite. And I've toured there a few times and we're actually booking a tour right now for 2024 back in Japan.
Do you have any advice for kids learning to play guitar like me?
Any advice for kids learning to play guitar
Like me.
like her?
Okay. Learning guitar is really annoying. It like hurts your fingers. It's like physically tough where the piano isn't as much. My advice is really just to not give up. You got to get your calluses. You've probably heard about getting calluses that develop on the tips of your fingers because you're touching this metal wire and you're trying to squeeze and it's so hard. So it's like a lot of that is just building up strength with your left hand. My advice is don't give up and really like learn those bar chords and really learn like own it, you know?
Yeah.
What kind of guitar do you play, dude?
Dude,
What kind of guitar do you play, dude?
I'll show you two of my favorite guitars.
Yeah.
Okay? Stand by. What kind of guitar do you play, dude?
Yeah, dude.
And so this is called a Gibson SG, but this is basically a junior model. This is one of my favorites, and I play these a lot. This might be my favorite guitar of all time, and this is called a Fender Swinger, and it's an extremely rare guitar. And I remember when I was a kid, about your age, I had a coffee table book called like 40 years of Fender guitars, you know, and every page was a different guitar: the Stratocaster, the Telecaster, the Jaguar, the Jazzmaster, the Mustang. And there was one page where it showed this thing, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? I was in a music shop in Seattle, Washington, and they had this hanging on the wall. It turns out the owner of the store was like, well, it's not for sale because the owner of the guitar is in jail. It was like a whole weird situation. And I'm like, well, look, let me give you my phone number because if he ever sells it, let me know. Every time I'd go to Seattle, I'd call that guitar shop. Finally, they were like, yeah, the guy's out of jail and he'll sell it to you for $1,500.
What makes your music rock and roll, man?
Oh, what makes your music rock and roll, man? I think for me, what makes my music rock and roll is probably more in the lyrics and just sort of like this element of like questioning things and maybe questioning authority and just like wondering how the world works, being determined to do your own thing and to be original and be your own person. And like all of those things are very rock and roll to me. And then obviously if you add some like aggressive sounding guitars and some, you know, sometimes rock and roll is more than just the sound of it.
What else do you like to do besides playing rock music?
Oh.
What else do you like to do?
You got hobbies?
I have a lot of hobbies.
Yeah.
I have things that I really like to do. Camping and hiking. I love nature. I love being outside. I love fishing. I like collecting baseball cards, and even coin collecting is something that my dad was really into.
Wow.
So he got me into like coins. I have like a newfound love for the art of recording. And so I've been reading books on mixing and audio engineering. And so that's kind of my new hobby.
How'd you become famous?
Dang.
Oof.
How'd you become famous? It wasn't an overnight thing.
Yeah.
I will say that. Like, I think that a lot of us, we watch TikTok and we watch Instagram and we see all these musicians like just getting famous overnight. And we think that like that's how it's supposed to happen. But I've learned that there's no such thing as an overnight success. From the time I was 8, writing my first song, to the time I was 15, getting my first record deal, that's not overnight, you know?
No.
And so how you get famous, what I think is like, it's like building blocks. It's all these little pieces put together.
Do you write your songs?
Do I write my songs? Oh, yes, I do. And sometimes I write them with friends too. Sometimes I do co-writes, like collaborations.
How much money do you make?
How much
Ooh.
money do you make?
How much money do you make?
Just going in for it. Music is sort of feast or famine. Like it goes up and down, you know? Like there are years where like I only make maybe like $40,000 to $50,000, you know, like a teacher's salary. And then there's been years where I've made $1 million. One of the keys for music, for me, like to sustain, is to find ways to create as much steady income as possible.
So, in short, $1 million.
There you go. Every day. I make $1 million a day.
Do you make music with other people?
Oh,
Yes, I do.
we already talked about
Yeah,
that.
we did. I make music with other people all the time. I write songs with other people. I play music with other people. It's much more fun with friends. Everything's more fun with friends.
What's your favorite food?
Man, my favorite food is Ethiopian food.
Woo!
You eat with your hands. You
Yeah.
eat with the spongy bread. And it's like just so good. So tasty. It's a lot like Indian food, which is another favorite.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking. India.
Indian food's
Yeah.
the best. But yeah, Ethiopian's my favorite. I also love Japanese food, but it's hard to pick. I love it all.
How'd you fall in love with music?
I fell in love with music because of the Beatles. That song, All You Need Is Love. That's what I heard, and it turned into All You Need Is Music to me, I guess. And that was it.
When did you start music?
When did I start music? Well, I started when I was 7, when my dad taught me how to play drums. That was really it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe someone showed me heart and soul either before the drums or after the drums. I can't quite remember when, but
I find like 7 is a good age for young men
yeah, okay.
to kind of get started.
Yeah, there
if
you
they're
go.
into it.
Yeah,
You know, it's hard.
7.
5 and 6.
Yeah,
Our
you
brains
know.
are kind of out there.
Yeah, totally.
But 7, you're starting to focus in.
What
on
about
stuff.
for girls? Can they do it earlier?
I do. I have noticed that young girls can focus earlier,
They're smart.
and if they're into
Yeah,
it,
no
they're
brain.
always smarter.
They're always smarter.
If they can focus in,
Yeah,
those girls
cool.
can start real early.
that's so cool.
But boys, we got.
We need a little time.
There's a
'cause
little
we're
wild
yeah, we're
wild
too
side.
wild. Too wild.